Good Wednesday morning. I'm 13 News Now meteorologist Craig Moeller, live from the weather desk here on the 13 News Now Plus app. You may be picking us up on YouTube as well. Great way to access our weather coverage. The weather desk, we cover today's top weather headlines across the region, through the Mid-Atlantic, across the nation, and around the world. So we've got a lot to go over. Again, I'm a meteorologist and have been working in the industry for over 30 years. Been at it quite a while. We're going to start off with a look at our headlines and what we're going to talk about. We've got a winter storm update, what happened and what is coming up next as we look forward. We've got a big system that's really impacted a lot of Americans. Another one coming on to the Pacific Northwest. We'll talk about that. We've got more heavy rain for the Mid-Atlantic and possible strong to severe storms for the southeast U.S. We'll show you who could see some more tornadoes later today. And then as we look ahead, big area of cold air across the northern tier of the country and into the Pacific Northwest. That's ahead of that next storm system approaching the Northwest. So we'll cover all of that. If you're watching close to the 757, Southeast Virginia or Northeast North Carolina, I'll have an extended look at our weather. We'll also look out over the coming spring season, some other things that we'll cover in this edition of the weather desk. But we're going to start off with a look at this unsettled weather. I've got the satellite images turned off. I just really wanted to focus on the moisture, and you can see how things went yesterday and into early this morning. Again, we'll show you that loop, the snow filling in a lot of it across the Mid-Atlantic. Big storms erupting down across parts of the deep south. More snow across the central U.S. They're waking up to snowy conditions in Missouri, and then we've got some more rain coming on to the west coast as well. So a lot obviously to break down. These back-to-back storms affected about a third of all Americans. Some schools are still closed, and there were hundreds of accidents due to road conditions. Meanwhile, parts of the west coast again bracing for more heavy rain. ABC's Rhiannon Alley has the latest.
This morning, dangerous weather facing millions of Americans from coast to coast. In the east, back-to-back storms bringing a mix of snow, ice, and freezing rain. The governor of Virginia declaring a state of emergency. More than 800 crashes reported across the region as heavy snow made a mess of the roads. The nation's capital seeing snowfall rates of an inch an hour. Overnight, heavy snow already coming down in parts of New Jersey. The system stretching all the way to Houston, where powerful thunderstorms flooded roads. Crews from Iowa to New Hampshire are now clearing the streets as they brace for another storm, taking aim at the Northeast and Midwest today. On the West Coast, Southern California is bracing for the strongest storm in a year that could cause debris flows in areas ravaged by wildfires.
There's another storm on Thursday we're watching in Southern California that could bring those burn scars and all those people hit so hard by those fires recently, 5 to 10 inches in some of the foothills.
Residents in Los Angeles placing tarps on their roofs and stuffing sandbags in preparation. Officials urging the public to be on alert.
If an evacuation warning or order is issued for your location, you have to take that seriously because seconds mean the difference between life and death.
Rhiannon Alley, ABC News, New York.
Obviously, a lot going on across the country, but I do really want to focus on some of the snow and the heavy rain that's been impacting the Mid-Atlantic region. You see that prolonged period of snow across northern Virginia, back up into parts of Maryland, Delaware, southern parts of New Jersey, even southern parts of Pennsylvania getting in on some of that action. So a lot of it, that's what we saw. As we take a look at storm reports that have come in, we did have some minor amounts of snow. I noticed down in Norview, right here in Norfolk, we had just over, well, right around 1/10 of an inch, so a little bit more than a light trace. What we were talking about, kind of a slushy dusting in some areas with a mix of snow and rain. It quickly changed over to rain for most of Hampton Roads. Different story off to the north, and you'll notice around Richmond we've had some reports of ice. And in Henrico County, you can see at Dumbarton, they did have about 2/10 of an inch, almost 1/4 inch of ice. Out to the west, when you get to the mountains, you can see freezing rain around Stewartsville, producing 1/4 inch of ice. And that was one of the concerns that we really talked about yesterday, that there could be some areas with some icing occurring back out over the mountains. Let's come back to these snow totals. And as you went farther north, this was the hot zone for some of the heaviest snow. Now, you notice there are a bunch of snow reports up around D.C. We'll get up there eventually, but I want to talk to you about what was happening in the Middle Peninsula around Gloucester. Just a little bit of snow at Gloucester Point, just under an inch, but you go just a little farther to the north, up around Ware Neck, about 1.5 inches over to Matthews. We had 2 inches of snow reported there. Now, you go a little farther north, and this is where it gets more interesting. Ashland picked up 4.5 inches, and this was a wet snow. This wasn't a light, fluffy, powdery snow. This was a heavy, wet snow. Over to the eastern shore, we saw up in Accomack County 4 inches. You come back across the water, and around Mollusk, we had just under 5 inches. So that was through this morning. The snow continued to fall. And how about this? Golensville along I-95, 7 inches. This is that area where we said there could be some amounts up around 6, locally higher amounts. Golensville, there was another area just off to the southwest of Tappahannock, 7.5 inches. Wet, heavy snow there at St. Stephen's Church. So just wanted to share those with you as we head up to the D.C. metro area, and specifically, we can check in with the snow measurement at the U.S. Capitol. At the Capitol, you can see 5.3 inches was reported there in the district, and generally across the District of Columbia, we saw between 4 and 6 inches, but again, some locally higher amounts not out of the question. Some other areas off to the north of that, it was a little bit less. You see how the White House looked just a few moments ago up in D.C. Folks waking up to a mantle of white, and again, snow covering the grounds around the White House. So a lot to talk about. Now here, it's been warm enough. We saw that transition from the snow to the rain, and this is what we've been dealing with. Another 1 to 1.5 inches of rain potentially as the moisture is going to continue to stream into the region. I want to show you some very heavy rain down across parts of the Deep South, and there is a potential for severe storms down this way. You can see all of this moisture feeding in. It's all associated with this storm system, and that pipeline is going to continue to generate more moisture into the mid-Atlantic. So this is why we are looking at this heavier rain, another 1 to maybe 2 inches in some spots. But we're going to look for that as we go along. You get up into the north central part of the country, or I should say the central areas, and then northward up into Missouri, a little bit farther north up into Iowa. They're dealing with more snow in the colder part of this system. But I want to focus on the severe weather outlook. And you'll notice for today, the Storm Prediction Center out of Norman, Oklahoma, has a level 3 risk, or an enhanced risk of severe storms. So the area shaded in green, just a marginal risk. Then you have the slight risk in the yellow, but you get to that third level, the enhanced risk. And again, that extends from the extreme eastern part of Louisiana across southern Mississippi and through southern Alabama. We can take a little closer look. I'll give you a couple towns, Tylertown there and Montgomery, kind of on the ends of that more elevated risk. Now, you're wondering, okay, what does this really mean? Well, numerous severe storms will be possible. I just showed you the radar, and there's already a lot of heavy rain. As this continues to sag southward into this area, we could see some storms generating very gusty winds. Winds always a concern with severe storms. You could also see some hail with these, but I wanted to talk to you about the tornadic possibility, and you can see this area hashed in here. Again, the same general area that was under that level 3 risk, extending from Montgomery back towards the easternmost parts of Louisiana. You've got this area hashtag 10% chance. That's the probability of a tornado within 25 miles of any point. So when you get into that, there's a pretty good chance that we could see a few tornadoes breaking out down in this area a little bit later today. We're going to be watching for that. You'll also notice the tornado risk around 5 to 10% for this area shaded in brown. Then it goes out to 2%, a little bit wider of that area. So again, this is something folks down in the Deep South need to take very, very seriously when you consider that probability of tornadoes. It could happen again. And I want to talk to you about buildings that were damaged and power lines that were down after a storm hit Escambia County down in Florida around Pensacola. You could see that yesterday. Some people report they saw a possible tornado after multiple buildings were damaged. And again, the aftermath damage includes buildings with their roofs ripped off, multiple power lines down. Crews are out there right now working to restore power. Now, one resident says she witnessed it as it was happening.
I had first looked out and noticed that the clouds didn't look quite right to me. And then a few minutes later, I looked, something catches my eye, and I could see it. And it was so close, as you can see, it was right here, and it was just coming straight at us. So I screamed because most of us have office. You can see our office windows. To tell everyone to get away from the windows, I just screamed, "It's a tornado, get away, everybody run."
Really scary stuff down there. Again, that was around Pensacola yesterday. And again, the stage is set for more tornadic activity. Now, I mentioned back across the central part of the country and into the north central U.S., we're looking at more snow, and we're going to take a little closer look at that. We can take this graphic full. I'm going to zoom in to show you where we're looking at snow right now. And you can see back across parts of Iowa into Illinois, Wisconsin, these areas bracing for more snow. And at times could be heavy snow. You see down across Missouri right now, working from the Springfield area right up along Interstate 44. You can see that runs from the southwest up to the northeast. The snow there will likely follow that path right on into the St. Louis area with snow expected there. Incidentally, that area right along 44, you may know it from the old song Route 66. You get your kicks from Route 66. It's all kind of right there, and that runs down to the southwest. Now, as you look out to the western U.S. and specifically the northwest, they're getting a little break right now. Parts of Oregon and Washington State, Montana, but it has been really cold. Look at these current temperatures, what we have right now. Portland, a temperature of 28 degrees, 11 below in Billings. You can see 8 below zero in Bismarck, and it's a degree below zero in Minneapolis. So that cold air is sliding a little bit farther to the east, but you get Seattle and Portland down into the 28. That is dangerously cold for that part of the country. Portland, Oregon is currently under a state of emergency due to these frigid temps. Nearly 300 people packed 3 emergency shelters. Here's our partner station, KATU, with the story.
Rock star, a nickname, has spent 20 years on the streets. He says Monday night was the first time he spent the night at a shelter.
It was really cold last night. My friend, I just got out of the hospital for pneumonia. I was in the hospital for the last 8 days.
Temperatures Monday night dropped below freezing for hours, prompting the county to open 3 emergency shelters, like the one Rockstar stayed at. 285 people took advantage of a warm bed. Rockstar says it may have saved lives, limbs, or at the very least, a finger or two.
But that's frostbite on my hands. I'm lucky to move my other ones. But
he says it happened on a cold night just like this one a couple years ago.
Some of the people in Portland, you just walk by like you don't even exist, and you're literally freezing. They don't know that once your inner core gets cold, you can't get warm.
Rockstar and others living unsheltered tell me they understand the stigma around homelessness, but wish people would treat them as humans.
It just hurts when I see a lot of people that they don't want this life.
Drew tells me he's been on the streets since he was 12. He wants people to know that it's not always a choice.
I just figured out how to get an ID maybe 3 years ago because I missed out on high school, and which is really important for learning how to adult. So I've been having never had someone to teach me how to get my necessary documentation.
It is a tough situation, again, and those folks right along the Pacific Northwest, they don't typically get this cold. So obviously a different situation for the homeless in the Northwest. And along the West Coast, they've been seeing more rain. There's another storm system that is going to come in. I wanted to show you a couple of the models. We'll start with the American model, and you'll notice, again, more rain coming in there. The big snows across the central U.S., these are going to continue to work off to the east, northeast. And here's that pipeline of rain, again, feeding back into the mid-Atlantic, and for the southeast, those storms potentially later today and tonight. Now, as we get into the day, Thursday, rain for the morning along the East Coast and the Southeast U.S. That's going to continue to work off to the east later in the day. By Thursday evening, we should see drier conditions prevailing in Hampton Roads. We'll take a closer look at that. You'll note the snow back up across Maine, but a lot of that snow farther north into Canada. That next storm system comes in, again, with the cold air in place. More snow for the high country. Again, ski resorts loving it. They'll certainly be happy to get that, but more rain for California. That's going to continue to be a concern as we've had some very heavy rain for stretches around San Francisco and at times in L.A. It's been a really unusual winter with these periods of heavier rain. As we look forward to Saturday, our next storm system takes shape. More showers developing in the mid-Atlantic, and you can see the unsettled weather continuing into Sunday. What I will tell you is there's going to be a surge of warmer air along the southeast coast. So we are talking about rainfall there Saturday night into Sunday, and then once that clears, we're going to see much colder air coming in behind that system into early next week. All right, that was the American model. Here's the Euro, and again, you see how the Euro, very similar setup for today. The snow that's occurring out there across the Midwest and the upper Midwest. You've got the chances for strong storms down here across the deep south, and we've got the rain still feeding in to the mid-Atlantic. So that's going to continue to be a thing. That snow works to the northeast across the Great Lakes. Our next storm system, like the American model showed, crashing into the west coast. More snow for parts of the northwest and along the west coast. Rain, heavy rain potentially into California as we go over the next couple of days. This is through Thursday afternoon. Again, with this model, you can see the Euro brings that moisture offshore. We dry out in the mid-Atlantic late Thursday. Into Friday, Valentine's Day. Things looking pretty good across the East Coast. If you've got plans to take out that special somebody up and down the East Coast, should have good conditions for it Friday evening. A little unsettled. Be a little chivalrous. Maybe have your umbrella to keep your date dry as you deal with some showers down across the southern tier of the U.S. and down along the Gulf Coast. Some more snow up around Wisconsin and Minnesota, and unsettled weather back over the mountains. You talk about the Rockies getting more snow, the Wasatch Range, the Uintas. You get up into the Rockies, up across parts of Montana, some more snow there, and then into the Sierras, you've got the chances for snow as well, along with the Olympics. So what we have as we go through the weekend, more unsettled weather coming towards the west coast. You see that, maybe some more snow developing across parts of Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana on the northern edge of this. But again, the moisture coming into the mid-Atlantic. Just a lot of unsettled weather. It's a very active pattern. Beyond that, though, once that clears the area later Sunday, again, much colder and drier air works in for Monday and Tuesday. Now, the flood outlook for the southeast U.S., we've got a level 2 or a slight risk for flooding anywhere from Louisiana across Mississippi, Alabama, North Georgia, and into western parts of South and North Carolina. You see this area, right? Very similar to the severe weather outlook today, too. So not only are we looking at the potential for some stronger storms with gusty winds, some larger hail, and possibility of tornadoes down here, we also have to watch out for very, very heavy rain and the potential with that slight risk, a level 2 threat for flash flooding. We'll keep an eye to that. As we go tomorrow, the threat of flooding is lowered, and it shifts a little farther to the east, just to give you an early heads up on that. All right, I do want to come back to Hampton Roads and talk some more about what's happening here. You'll notice we don't have any warnings or advisories issued for the immediate metro area. This is Hampton Roads, the 7 cities, Norfolk, Virginia Beach. You head up to the peninsula, Newport News, Hampton, Portsmouth, Suffolk, Chesapeake. We're all in pretty good shape. North of that, we've had winter weather advisories continuing into the late morning hours, and even some areas out to the west will continue with the winter storm warning through about 1 o'clock. But most of this stuff will be ending here late morning, and they'll take them down. We had the mix off to the north. It's largely transitioned to rain, and I expect more opportunities for rain as we go through the afternoon. Could be heavy at times. Again, 1 to 2 inches of additional rainfall are possible through today, tonight, and into tomorrow. So it is an unsettled pattern. There will be some breaks, though. I do think some areas will dry out at least for a little while. So we'll get some breaks in there as well across the region. These additional showers will continue to move along as we look forward forward to our day Thursday. After some showers in the morning, things will start to quiet down. Temperatures tomorrow ranging from the low 60s down into the 50s across the area, but cooler air starts to sweep in as the winds shift from the south back around to the northwest. We get that cooler flow in, and the temperatures fall heading into Valentine's Day. So Friday morning, early, temperatures mid-30s near the coast, upper 20s for our inland areas. It's going to be chilly on Friday, and afternoon highs only expected to be in the low 40s. That's about it on Friday. All right, let's take a look at the temperature trends over the next 10 days. I like to show this because it's chilly today. Normal high is 53. We'll be above that tomorrow, 64. And then back into the low 40s for a cold Valentine's Day. We'll jump back up. You can really see it's just up and down again as we go through the weekend, that warm up. But wet weather coming back in. Behind that system, much colder for next week looking out ahead. You see the below normal temperatures out 8 to 14 days. But guess what? I showed this yesterday. If you missed our weather desk yesterday, you missed the spring outlook. We'll just take a quick look at that. The 90-day outlook, including March, April, and May for the country across the southern tier of the United States. Temperatures expected to be above normal. And this extends not only across the south and Florida, but through the mid-Atlantic, all the way up along the East Coast. Temperatures are expected to be a little warmer than normal when you average all the highs and lows over that 90-day period, March, April, and May. We'll see temperatures looking above normal. It's going to be below normal for the northwest, so a little chilly across the northern tier of the U.S. And as far as rainfall goes, it looks like it's going to be abnormally wet in this part of the country, back across the lower Great Lakes region, and drier than normal, basically from the mid-Atlantic, Hampton Roads area down through the Carolinas. Florida looks to be dry and drier than normal across New Mexico, parts of Arizona, and Texas. A little bit wetter in Portland, and obviously considerably wetter expected from the Great Lakes on south through the Ohio and mid-Mississippi River valleys. So that's that spring outlook. How about the forecast for Hampton Roads today? Temperatures are going to top out in the lower to mid 40s for some areas inland. We've got the rain. Think around Virginia Beach, 45. Norfolk may reach 46, 47, a little bit warmer right there. Looking off to the north, the eastern shore, low 40s again, rain. The mix and the snow that we saw earlier, it's all rain now, and it is going to continue to be wet. Periods of moderate to heavier rain will be possible down into northeast North Carolina. 45 at Edenton, 45 at Hertford, mid-40s at the Outer Banks. A little cooler off to the north and to the northwest. Just kind of a soggy, chilly, wet, wintry day. That's what we're dealing with. Overnight tonight, temperatures don't really drop much. We're going to see the wind shifting to the south, 5 to 15 miles per hour. That's actually going to drive our temperatures up. And tomorrow, we're going to see those temperatures climbing. We should reach the lower to mid-60s. Now, some areas will be a little bit cooler. We will see chances for morning showers. But I think as we get into the afternoon, we'll start to see some breaks in the clouds, and we should see some more clearing by late tomorrow evening. Temperatures falling as southwest winds eventually shift to the northwest late tomorrow and tomorrow night. After that, colder air moves in. You can see those wet conditions as we check out the Thompson Creek. You can see the window company, the sky view right here from Town Center. This is the top, the west end. This is the tallest building in Virginia, looking back down towards Independence, and that is 264. Runs from the ocean front to Norfolk. Traffic moving steadily, but it is very wet. You see that Best Buy parking lot soaking wet at the intersection there. It is a cold, rainy day across Hampton Roads. Here's the 7-day forecast. We've got periods of rain today, off and on, and tonight. Tomorrow morning, mainly early, we'll see the chances for showers. By Friday, Valentine's Day, more sunshine, should be very nice, but it will be chilly at 42. Back up into the upper 50s there on Saturday and upper 60s on Sunday. Rain, that surge of warm air, and then behind the next front, we're going to clear it out and cool things down Monday into Tuesday. Highs only in the lower to mid mid-40s. So that's a look at the 7-day forecast for Hampton Roads. All right, if you'd like to reach me on social media, you can find me on Facebook, Craig Moeller, Instagram, Craig Moeller TV, and on X at 13 Craig Moeller. All great ways to find me. If you'd like to take our forecast and have access to our radar on the go, the best way to do that is to download the 13 News Now app. It's always free, always available, and always packed with great information to help you plan your day if you're around Hampton Roads. And that radar, I mean, once you get into our radar on that app, you can use it to check the radar anywhere around the country. All kinds of great information there for you. Right there at your fingertips, and you'll, of course, get updates, special weather coverage. If we need to go live, you'll get it pushed to that. If there are special weather statements or special things going on, warnings, alerts, you get those pushed right out to your mobile devices as well. Hopefully you've enjoyed this edition of the Weather Desk. Again, the headlines, we're dealing with this wintry weather in the mid-Atlantic. Rain now for Hampton Roads. Some potential for those strong storms down in the deep south. And it's still cold, and it looks like it's going to be unsettled for the West Coast as well. A lot going on with the top weather headlines around the country and across our world. You can always check us out here weekdays, 9 a.m. Again, I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. Have a great day.